So suddenly for this chord progression, you get alright. This is another video. It's been a while. I wanted to do those quite more regularly, and I hope from now on I can do it a bit more regularly. But every time you kind of plan that, it goes down the drain pretty quick. The next couple of videos I'm planning here as a series are kind of in a little bit of a lesson form, not like a formal guitar lessons, but it's tunes I play, mostly jazz standards, and in most jazz standards I have like a little nugget, or a little sometimes it's a chord, sometimes it's a chord progression, sometimes it's the melody, sometimes it's an overall thought process, but usually there's, for me at least, there's a thing I struggle with, or often even worse, I'm not actually struggling with it, I just ignore it and just either like shred over it or don't play, or kind of find the easy way out. So I just thought I share some of the thoughts and some of the ideas I got from lessons that I took and still take, and my thought process of tackling some of those issues. Those are not really solutions for everybody, and I'm sure a lot of you who watch maybe this video might be way further down the road in terms of your guitar playing. So I hope you, like, if you're watching so far, don't mind if it's like more like beginner stuff in terms of jazz guitar, or kind of simplistic stuff. I'm not talking about very complex, like to throw the word negative harmony. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about very, very kind of basic stuff in that regard, and I hope that helps. So the tune I want to talk today about is There Will Never Be Another You. It's a great tune. You learn it usually quite early in your journey of jazz guitar, mostly because I think that part of the melody, which is like, it's a very diatonic melody, and it goes through a couple of things. It kind of has like the 2 dominant chord in there for like a Lydian dominant sound. It has the kind of 2-5-1 into the 4 chord A flat, where you can kind of change it. It goes to the D flat 7, which you could see as the 4 minor. So there's a lot of things in there, and usually all those things I mentioned, people study quite thoroughly when they learn the guitar, and they kind of aim for them. Like, you can, there's many different worlds you can draw from, like the harmonic minor world, the melodic minor world. It all kind of happens in the tune if you want. You don't have to use any of that if you don't want. But the part I want to look at is actually the ending, funnily enough, because I kind of looked at loads of those parts, like the B flat minor, like, and I really try to come up with lines and ideas with that make sense for me, like the those are kind of parts I really practiced, and I transcribed some lines, and I looked what other people do, and I got lessons. But the part I never really looked at, and it always got me, is the ending, the last line. And the last line isn't terribly complicated, but there's this one chord, the A flat 7, which I kind of always pretty much ignored, because if you look at the last line from There Will Never Be Another You, I have to probably do that in a different way, but you have like you have E flat, it's the 1 chord, then you have the A flat 7, and then you have pretty much a normal 3-6-2-5. So 90% of that is very straightforward in terms of jazz guitar, but I always kind of ignored that A flat 7, because often I have the tendency to play the tune fast, which I kind of shouldn't if I can't play all of it. But it's really fun, the diatonic melody, the drive, the chord changes. It's fun, kind of an up-tempo tune. But that A flat 7, I never really found a way in my head to make sense of it in the connection with the other chords. Obviously, I can kind of look what are the chord tones and from where does it come, and there's a scale for it, and there's all of that, and we kind of get a little bit into that. So first of all, what I want to look at is what every teacher will tell you. If I had a lesson recently with Gilad Hexelman, and I asked about something else, but it was like also a chord progression I struggled with, and he said, "Well, can you play the arpeggios through it?" Like, oh, okay, you do that. Then can you play the arpeggios the other way around through it? Okay, can you do that? Can you play the arpeggios across the neck? Then, well, can you do that? Can you play continuous scale exercise in one position through all those chords? Okay, then you can do that. Can you do it across the neck? So there's a lot of kind of basic things that every teacher at a certain level will say, okay, you have to know those things. And I agree with that. I practice those things and I do those things. However, I feel there's also, it has to make sense in my head what's happening harmonically so I can actually play mindfully, is maybe a bit of a weird term, but that I can play something that makes sense in my head. And one of my early teachers said to me that if you have chords like that, it's always good to see what's the same and what's changing. So the chord progression that kind of got me there, that I kind of ignored, is the E flat to the E flat major 7 to the A flat 7. So if we look at that, we get like a normal E flat major 7 with like the notes E flat, G, B flat, and D. Okay, we then look at the next chord, which is the A flat 7. We have the notes A flat, C, E flat, and G flat. I looked at that, what is changing, but not only what's changing in regards to the chord, but also what's changing in regards to the world we are in. So E flat major 7 is for me the world of E flat major in the context of this tune. Is there a chord tone in the A flat 7 that's not from this world? And if you look at it, yes, the G flat is kind of not out of this world. The G flat is from a different world. In this case, it would be probably E flat melodic minor, where A flat is the 4th degrees, and you get like a Lydian dominant sound. So again, you have like an arpeggio scale. It's a lot of stuff. But for me, the main thing is like the change here from like a from E flat and G to E flat, because it's still the 5th, and G flat. I like to think as simple as possible. So in some way in my head, at this stage at E flat major, it goes from E flat major to E flat minor. And more importantly, it's that voice that moves. And then I looked a little bit further through the following chords, and I tried to track that movement. I don't know if it's probably a thing many people do, and maybe that's not news for me, but it really helped me. I tracked the movement of that voice, because we often talk about the term voice leading, and we often think about it in chords, but voice leading is also, where does the word come from? There's a movement somewhere that goes a certain way. So I looked at the next chord after A flat 7, which is like a G minor 7 or G minor 7 flat 5. And I looked, is that voice connecting somehow? So the G to G flat. And yes, indeed, you could see it as the flat 7 of the G minor, the F. So suddenly you have like... And then you can follow to the next chord, to the C7. And then you can follow it even more, and it becomes E flat, 7th of the F minor 7, and then becomes D, and then can go back to the root. So suddenly for this chord progression, you get... And that's not the most advanced thing, but especially if you play that tune fast and you need an idea, and you need an idea that makes sense in your head musically, this kind of chromatic line, like, for me, is kind of the essence of that harmony. That doesn't mean you have to play it all the time or you have to play it at all, but this really helped me in lots of ways to play this tune, even if, let's say, you're down here, like... So there's lots of little things that, especially at a fast tempo, and without thinking too much, you have this chromatic guideline down the harmony, which can really help with this. And it's a common enough thing. You kind of see it a lot later on, the 1 to the to the 4 dominant, to a 3/6 to 5. You see that in lots of tunes. I hope that helped you in in any way. I will do more of those videos a bit more frequently. Try to get also some more elaborate topics, but I hope this is kind of just me telling you my struggle with certain things, because I felt a lot of the information out there, like all of the information is out there on the internet, and there's amazing lessons. But usually I did, and I very much still struggle with the very simple things of this kind of music, and I always wish there would be someone who maybe shares what they're struggling with and how they think about it and how they might come up with a way of thinking about it or a solution. So maybe that's helpful to you. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you.